Everybody, this is Jim at SP500chart.com. It's 4:25 on April 17th, 2013. We're going to look at the S&P 500 chart using some time-honored techniques to try to understand these modern markets. Before we do so, I want to remind you that the website and the video are for educational purposes only, and nothing stated at the site or in the video is intended to be used as investment advice. I can draw lines on charts, but you have to draw your own conclusions from your own research and make investment decisions that are suitable for your personal financial situation. I'm not a licensed financial professional. I'm just a guy who draws lines on charts. Well, I've been saying for the past few days that it just looks like this yellow line is ripe for breaking. And it's not a perfect line in the sense that if we start it back here on the November low and make it line up with the late December low, then we're just barely underneath it today. If we start on this November low, make it line up with the February low, we are significantly under it today. And if we take this line and line it up with the first two lows, let this February low be not so important, then we line it up again with the early April low, the low of last week, or excuse me, not last week, week before last, then we are underneath this line, but not by a huge amount. So I think this is a sign that we are topping out here, but because we are not, and let me move this line to here, because we are not at a technically significant margin underneath this line, I have to remind you of that. And because where did the line quote break? Well, it broke at 1554. And where did we close today? 1554. And how much did it break at the greatest point? It broke by about 10 points, which when you're in the high 1500s, that's about 2/3%. Again, I tend to want to look for more than that. I am not I was going to say I'm not opposed. Yeah, that works. I'm not opposed to the idea that the S&P could rally back into this channel, but I think if we take everything on balance, this is yet another sign that this is starting to roll over. And interesting that it would start to look this way right after that move up to the all-time highs in the S&P 500, which, by the way, to toot my horn, I've been looking for the whole time. Now, I'll be honest with you. You'll say, Jim, you've been looking for them, but you're mostly cash. Yeah, I am. But, hey, don't do as I do, do as I say. Believe it or not, I'm being honest with that. The reason is I am a much better chart reader than I am a stock trader. I have always been that way. I've always been able to read a chart, and when it's an objective thing and I don't have very much skin in the game, I'm a much better person at reading charts than when when my outlook is colored by having heavy long or short positions. So right now I'm a little bit long still, and I'm looking for some strength. And a couple of things I'm long in are going to act somewhat independent of the market, I believe. But for right now, I think we can say that this is at minimum a chink in the trend. We came down pretty hard, and I tell you, one of the things that really led to this. We'll take a look at this chart in just a little bit. We're going to look at the Apple chart. I do think we will likely find some support here at 1540 again. And if you are looking to short the S&P, I tell you what I would wait for. I would love to see a good solid tag on 1540 in the next day or so, and then a rally back up to 1570 and showing an inability to get over this line. That might be a good spot, because this line has been operating for a long time, since November of 2012. If we can come down to 1540, what will that do? Well, the first thing it will do is it will put this move underneath this support line into the area where it would be considered technically significant. Then we would look for a back test to here, and the whole thing, if this pans out, we may be looking at a fairly large head and shoulders pattern here, which right now has a double left shoulder. Okay, now I'll speak a little bit more. Gosh, I'm just at a loss for words. I'll be even more outrageous. It may also be possible that at some point in time we look at this purple line down here at about 1488 or so. It's been there for a while, and it's there for a reason, because this is what I'm seeing also as a possibility. Left shoulder, head, right shoulder. Okay, so there's all kinds of things that we could be looking at here now that it appears this bullish channel is in jeopardy of breaking in a technically significant way. Because one thing I'll mention to you, if this highlighted area here does turn into a head and shoulders pattern, then we would be looking at a minimum target that would take us right back down to that 1488 area. So I think that certainly bears watching out for. So guys, on a 3-minute chart, we may be seeing, I can't tell you for sure, it's hard to tell if what we're getting here is maybe a little attempt at a reversal like we had back here, but because this is sloping upwards, I think I'm going to be a little bit more predisposed. Excuse me, wrong color. And I'm going to draw the lines here, treating this as a potential bear flag. And if that's the case, then we would definitely come down. If this breaks out to the downside, then very little doubt that we would come down and hammer on 1540, making this now a technically significant move underneath this line. Let's see if that happens, if 1540 holds and we begin to rally up to form a potential right shoulder. Let's take a look real quick at Apple's chart. Okay, starting out with the daily chart, I want to remind you that we identified a head and shoulders top in Apple that has a target based upon the height of the head and the date of the breakdown. We've got a target of about 1368 is what I measured when I was doing a very careful job of it. So we got a target of about 1368 based upon this large pattern, and that's a minimum. Okay, it could go much lower than that. Additionally, if we look at an hourly chart, come to Daddy, it looks like there was support right about 1420, excuse me, 420, excuse me. I'm so used to talking about the S&P. Right at about 420, and that broke decisively today in a very technically significant move. And again, if we treat that something as a neckline, then we end up with a measurement of a minimum expected move underneath this line of about 1378. I did it again. 378. So it looks like Apple is really in deep weeds at this point. If we back out to a 3-day chart, you can also see that we have something of a very long-term line right here that that has been broken. And that may not be a horribly important line because it really only has a few touches, and they're quite some distance from each other. We got the low down here in 03, and then we got the low in 09. Then we extend that up, and you can see though that Apple has really sort of made that ominous wedge shape. Again, something that that we've pointed out in the past. So guys, that is your video for April 17th, 2013. And just to remind you, going into tomorrow, this move down underneath this line today was not completely technically significant. If this is a bear flag set up right here, then it would break down, and by the time we reach expected support at 1540, the break would be at technical significance, just at it. Okay, so that's what we need to look for tomorrow. Is this going to play out as a bear flag? We had one up here, and it certainly did. We got another one down here. If it does, let's see if 1540 holds. But really, I think in the bigger picture, I would expect at some point, I would expect it to bounce at 1540. But then I would look for the formation of a right shoulder to kind of give a little symmetry to this and make this a more classical topping pattern. Right now, it's not. If we were to break down right here, I would say, well, I didn't really see a top there. And every time the S&P has gotten up into this area, it has formed a recognizable top. So I wouldn't expect this time to be any different. So there you have it. That is the full video for April 17th, 2013. By the way, I'm about ready for a little rally in gold. I'm in a junior minor that's getting creamed. So, ready for a little relief on that. Guys, thanks for watching. Take care.